Let's queer up trans rights. Russian anti-trans lobbying compared to GOP efforts. Russia's newly proposed anti-transgender legislation is drawing comparisons to the Republican efforts to restrict LGBT rights in the United States. On Thursday, the Russian State Duma passed a bill that would ban gender-affirming healthcare regardless of age, ban transgender people from becoming foster or adoptive parents, and annul marriages involving transgender people. The bill, widely expected to be approved by the Federation Council and Russian President Vladimir Putin, comes as LGBTQ advocates warn of a new global attacks on rights for the community, specifically those who are transgender. Lawmakers in Russia, the government of which has long been viewed as hostile towards the LGBTQ+Rights, tout the legislation as protection from the Western anti-family ideology. However, critics say the bill will cause undue harm to Russia's transgender community. Maria Sjödin, the executive director of the international LGBTQ+ advocacy organization, Outright International, told Newsweek on Saturday afternoon that Russia's new law takes matters even further for a community already under enormous pressure by existing anti-gay and anti-transgender laws. Russia is viewed as having among the world's most restrictive laws regarding LGBT+ rights. Equaldex, LGBT rights index, places Russia as the 23rd worst country to live in for the LGBTQ community. There have been reports for years that authorities in Russia's Chechnya region have violently persecuted LGBT people. Well, oftentimes, we say that what's happening in the US is the Russian playbook. It's also Trump's playbook. It's also DeSantis's playbook. And it's sad that, in fact, that some of that has been exported here. And so what's happening there is happening here. We have a lot to really protect ourselves in terms of thinking about what's happening in the community.
That's scary.
It's interesting that they refer to Western anti-family ideology, meaning they are viewing the U.S. as pro-LGBTQ+, even though we're undergoing what we're undergoing. Yeah. It's a very interesting tactic.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know there were gays in Russia. Isn't that what they're constantly saying? Oh my God. And I love how they say, oh, well, they're a little hostile towards LGBT. Right. I think we should find another word to describe that because it's very beyond, and then again, what Orlando says, it's like chills. It brings chills up and down my spine because it's true. It is the rule book that we're really playing out of. So if anybody is in fear, you should be, because these things could be acted out right here in your backyard as well next. And that's their plan.
That is.
One thought is for Russia, you make the same joke. It's interesting that for a country that doesn't have any LGBT people, they're passing these laws saying, oh, wait, we're retrenching rights back, but nobody exists to take advantage of these rights. By the way, just as an FYI, there's an estimate of the United Nations estimate between 15 and 18 million LGBT in Russia. That's how many LGBT there are in Russia.
And if that's what they think, then let's double it, right? Or let's put more of that.
Right.
There's a lot more than that.
The one thing that I think is really incredible is the leader here that we mentioned as Putin. Simultaneously, this is the guy that takes his shirt off and rides a horse bareback. Now, that is the queerest thing that I had ever seen up to that point in Russia.
Before Ron DeSantis ad.
Right. Before Ron DeSantis came along.
With that ad?
Exactly, with that ad.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really interesting about this story that was shocking to me, as Orlando does this story, is Russia is only the 23rd worst country in the world.
What?
That is breathtaking.
Are you kidding me?
That the country that has no gay people is the 23rd worst country in the world. Let me put that in perspective. With approximately 200 countries in the world, that means 10% of the nations on Earth are worse for LGBT than Russia.
Wow.
That is a dead stop moment of what is really going on in place. We know what's happening in Russia. But what's worse, we're not categorizing what's really happening in Uganda and Ghana and now Kenya and 20 other countries in the world. that are even more dangerous and more oppressive than Russia. We have a lot of work to do in the world for LGBT rights. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.